GM.
GM. What's poppin'?
Oh man, just busy week with everything going on with New Year's and stuff, man. But doing well. Can't complain. Busy's good. Also have a move coming up this next week, and I know how I know how you know what that's like, Mr. Rooster.
My least favorite thing to do in the entire world.
Oh,
I've done it so many times.
the worst thing is I've lived in this place for 4 years. And like that's a long enough period of time to where you just start to accumulate a bunch of stuff that you don't even realize. So it has been just a pain in the butt, man, trying to get everything. And like, I feel like I've done so much, but then I look around, I'm like, I've barely scratched the surface of everything that I really need to do.
No, yeah, 100% I feel that. I end up throwing a lot of shit away every time I move. I'm just like, fuck it at this point. I don't even care about it anymore. Yeah, it's a awful process. I feel for you.
Well, dude, that's what I'm doing with a bunch of stuff right now. It's just finding people to give it away to, right? Like even my furniture. I don't even feel like going through the process of listing everything on Craigslist or,
Dude,
whatever. It's like I'm just
exactly, because all you get met up with is scams too. Like you try to sell one thing, then you got fucking 400 people telling you that they're gonna get it and their uncle's gonna come pick it up in a truck tomorrow, and then oh, extra money, something, something. Always the same fucking. It's so much. It's so littered with bots to just scam. It's yeah, not even worth it, dude. I ended up putting a fucking, I don't even remember what kind of wood it was, but it was a solid wood table, like full dining room table set with like extra leaves and everything. Um, just like out in the parking lot with the free sign on it. I was like, I don't even want to fucking move this anymore. Like someone come take it, fucking recliner, couch. Like I was like, have it. I'll give me a shit.
yeah, no, man. My situation is I just feel like I've been going insane a little bit this year. Like by living by myself. I kid you not. Because when I used to work the corporate job, I went to the office every day. As much as you complain about it, like that regular contact with people, that regular routine really does keep you grounded. And I think there's certain types of people, they do recharge by more time alone than not. I am somebody that recharges being around people, right? So like I was in one of these funks where like dude, I swear I hadn't left the house in a couple days because I was just like absorbed by the charts, everything else going on CT. So not leaving the house in a couple days without having any roommates when you've got a house to yourself, it's like, as much as I enjoy having the extra rooms for people to come and stay and all that type of stuff, like, the dedicated office, the dedicated everything else, it's like I was just going crazy. And I get a call from a buddy, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to move in? Like, we have, I've got an extra spot. I have a buddy that just moved out." And I just kind of said, F it. I didn't even think about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. So I'm moving in with a good buddy. So I've got to get rid of a bunch of stuff. But the other thing too is it's like I've got an office, like a legit office, and this is one of the things that I think is going to be healthy about it outside of the house. So like to go to the office, I literally, I'm gonna have to leave the house, go to it because I've got another buddy that has this business, and he's got this massive space where he doesn't use half of it. So I'm just like, it's one of those things where I am going. That's one of my goals for 2024 is to just be like around people more often. As lame as that sounds, like that is one of the things that I'm really focused on. So right now, I'm just going through the process of trying to clean up everything, consolidate, just give stuff away. Like that's literally what I'm trying to do with my buddy. One of my current conversations is it's like the furniture I have in my house is way nicer than what he has. I don't want to keep it. I am just trying to convince him to take it for free, right? I'm like, bro, you can have all my furniture. I don't want it. And not that it's not good furniture, right? Like it's good furniture, like high quality stuff. But he's got this couch, man, like this old couch that he loves. And he's like, man, I just had it reupholstered. I really hope he's not on this space, by the way. I don't think he is. I don't think he has Twitter. But he's like, bro, I just got it reupholstered and I get all these compliments on it. And I'm looking at that thing. I'm like, man, thinking to myself, there are two types of compliments in this world. There are compliments that are just nice comments that you make to somebody when you enter their home, and there are compliments that are genuine. There is no way that it is the second out of those two options. So that's where my
Dude, dude, who the fuck is your buddy? Like, that is the strangest impersonation I've heard. Like, yeah, I don't know. Sounds a little suspect.
it's gonna be a little bit sus. Like, here's the deal though. He's a great guy, good friend, like enjoy doing a bunch of, but it's just that's my thing. I'm really talking down this situation. And I'm not signing a lease or doing anything like that. So like I'm literally just gonna, it's one of those things where I see it as I'm gonna be traveling a lot more this next year too. Just like getting rid of a lot of stuff, getting rid of things that tie me down to a location and having freedom while also having more community. But then at the same time, while I'm doing all this, I'm like, in my pursuit for sanity, I think I might have gone insane. So I don't know, man. It's an interesting process, but I think it's going to be good. We'll see.
Yeah, speaking about insane, that's I'm pretty much teeter totter in that line right there, right now. Um, between all the shit that's going on and being in the Solana ecosystem, like it's definitely reminded me why I faded Solana the entire bull market. Is just because like uh, the Jeets, man, like it, it's unbearable. And honestly, like being able to open a trade, like people doing these like $5, $10 trades, like I'm not trying to knock size on anything, but that should just be illegal. Like there should absolutely be no reason that you're trading $5, $10 positions, and you'll see people dump like 100 different accounts dump like $10, ends up making a pretty big impact on the chart. But on ETH, if you're not opening up a position in a coin with like $200, you're losing over 25% of that just to gas fees, right? So it forces people to have slightly more conviction. These motherfuckers in Solana can't hold on to a position longer than like 6 minutes. If it doesn't 100x in 6 minutes, they just start jeeting everything they have off a cliff and then on to the next rotation because it costs like 14 cents to spin up a coin. So yeah, dude, it's definitely reminded me why I despise the ecosystem.
Have there been a lot of Solana NFTs that have been popping up recently? Because I feel like I haven't, like that's one meta that I really haven't seen necessarily come up as much. I know we talked about how there are a couple like key projects at the top that are kind of getting some attention, but I don't really feel like we've seen the rotation of liquidity, even on Solana, into NFTs as a whole yet, right? Like you don't have the degen mints that are just popping up left and right. Like that's not where people are choosing to gamble their
Nah, there was one, the apes pumped and dumps this like ugly. I don't even remember what kind of animal it was. It was like a kind of looked like a gecko or salamander type deal. I don't know. They were ugly. I faded on. I did fade a 5x. I think the first time I saw them, they were at like 4 SOL, and then they went up to like 20. But I think they're down pretty bad right now. And that was, a bunch of the apes were shilling that all the way up to 20 SOL, and then went silent afterwards. Um, but that other than that, I've heard things. I've
You
heard
mean
good
like the
things
ETH
about.
apes? We're
Yeah,
shilling?
yeah,
Okay.
tapes. Yeah. No, there's definitely a good amount of like a pretty good amount, in my opinion, of ETH liquidity trading in Solana right now. I mean, you look at every major ETH account, they've pretty much talked 80% Solana the past 2 months. Um, so I do, yeah, I do think there's like a pretty good chunk of ETH liquidity that's in Solana, and then even larger chunk that's locked up until blast until
Well,
January, whatever.
which
Um,
still is crazy. We'll see. Like, I still go back to what we talked about Rooster, where that might end up being a winning trade just because people had their liquidity locked and they get some type of an airdrop. and whatever the airdrop is going to be from it, as much as people are fading ETH and saying, oh, well, ETH is only, it's basically been a stable coin, while you look at Sol, whatever else, just pumping to infinity. Like there's going to be some type of yield that you get from the airdrop itself. And I think ETH is probably going to do a bit of a catch up trade coming up here in a bit. Obviously, not as much as, what Sol has moved total, but, it really just comes to having the discipline of not touching your bag. So it just depends. Obviously, some people would outperform, but I think there's some people that will end up better off by not doing it. But the key thing is right now, like, as much as we have seen some interest return, and right, like people that have had sideline capital that are deploying it in some sense over the course of the past couple months, we don't really have any new entrants yet. We really don't, right? Like it's either people that have been active that had some sideline capital that they've deployed, or B, maybe some people that were super active before, took a little break and came back, but we don't have the new entrants coming in left and right. And that won't happen until you have a name like Bitcoin or ETH that are sitting there printing new all-time highs. Most likely Bitcoin, right? And whenever Bitcoin gets up there, as much as people shit on it, like as it starts to approach those new all-time highs, that is when you really get the influx of liquidity into the space as a whole. And that's where, you've got the added stimulus to be able to, for a bunch of these different coins, not just the immediate pump and dump. I mean, there's more staying power at that point, right? Because you have an influx of more liquidity that's coming in. And, people are willing to bet a little bit more. Is, like confidence begets confidence. So we're going to get there. That's going to happen later, sometime later next year. Um, but in the meantime, obviously, we've had a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff that's happening, but that's when you're really going to see a lot of the action happen, right? Like, and we're a ways away from that. Tracto, you've had your hand up for a bit, man. Welcome back. What's going on?
What's going on, guys? How you doing today?
Oh man, doing well. I'm watching a little bit of football in the background, taking care of the siblings' dog
No,
and
no.
packing. So beautiful, beautiful
Oh,
day.
that's awesome. No, I heard y'all talking about Solana. I just got my Solana phone in yesterday, and I don't know.
Is it still
Uh,
free? Let
And
me
how
it's
much did you
free.
pay
It
for it?
is free. I got paid $150 if I sell my airdrops. But the problem with me is I'm not that good at selling. I'm like, the paper hands are almost out, guys. These airdrops are gonna go back up, right? Right.
Bro, that's the thing I did hear about it, that there were a million airdrops being handed out to the Soul people. And I'm, well, with the Solana phone, as I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, how much capital is there to really keep those, having some type of worth, right? Like, it just sounds to me like it is, a horse chasing its tail to a certain extent, where, nothing is really sticking in one spot, right? It's all hopping from one to the next. So if you don't, but hey, that doesn't mean, like, Tracto, the one thing I'll say toward that is if you sold them all immediately, you know, per coin, on a per coin basis, you would probably make way more than holding on to it. But by holding on to it, you are basically holding on to some lotto
Yep.
tickets that, who knows, maybe one could be the next bonk, and that's all it takes. It's just
I
one of
mean, one of
those
them is
being
bonk.
that.
So we'll just see what happens. But, the Solana phones, as far as the quality of the actual phone, I use an iPhone for my everyday. So I don't feel that it compares to an iPhone. But compared to any of the Androids that I've seen, I've never owned one, I've never used one every day. It seems like a solid phone. And I mean solid because it weighs like 2 freaking pounds. Um, but I really think that they nailed the delivery system that crypto is needed for stuff. I mean, you got to think, you've got 20,000 of these phones. So anytime somebody partners with the Solana Foundation or Solana Mobile, you've got a delivery system to 20,000, maybe not active participants, but 20,000 phones, 20,000 wallets that at least have their finger on the pulse of crypto. So anything they want to get out there, you're at least getting oh look, Bonk has 20,000 holders. Well, yeah, it's because we airdropped it to all of the phone people. Like, I don't know. It's kind of sick. I like that idea of it.
I know. I agree. I think that's cool. Like actually on that same argument, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm a huge proponent of SoFi as a whole, or one of the huge applications of why I think SoFi has some potential benefits, because it's the same type of thing, right? Because you've got
Yep.
like this list of targeted active users that have wallets associated with them, right? And
Yep.
there are obviously some cons of having like these public facing wallets, but I think there are obviously some pros that come along with that as well. Because, like even just looking at what Pythonomics did with his little airdrop on the AVAX thing with the no chill, it targeted 380 something people
Yeah.
for the OGs. But it's like anytime that I get on there, that's the only thing that people are talking about, right? And it was because it was a targeted like to certain groups of wallets. So I think that there's going to be a certain point where liquidity fades back that direction down the road, and you're going to have a decent amount of people where that is the primary application, right? Like,
Yep.
there are a lot of people that are just going to use it in the same type of instance. So yeah, looking at it toward the coming next 2 years, I think just holding on to that phone in general, if it has started out as a meta this early, people are going to continue to airdrop stuff through that phone. Like, it's going to happen.
No, guaranteed. And on like the SoFi route, I mean, I definitely think everything is going to be the way that we bridge people into Web3. I think that the SoFi platforms, if done correctly, has a ton of potential to do that. I was even talking to my sister-in-law, and she was talking about how her design company, she does like interior design and stuff. She was like, I like it. I can only go to so many houses, but I really wish that there was a way to do like some stuff online. And with something like SoFi, I mean, even somebody like that comes in there, you put your content forward, you offer consultations to people that hold your pass, and then you're in there. I mean, you've got a way to distribute whatever it is that you're trying to distribute, whether it's something physical, whether it's something, digital, or whether it's just something like that that's like bringing value. Like if somebody wanted to go in there, all right, I'm decorating my house. Like what are the most, I don't know, popular color palettes? Like they can go to Pinterest and they're going to get a million ideas, or you go to somebody that's actively doing it every day. And I don't know. That's the part of it that kind of gets me excited. There's definitely
or you just AI
more
it
to
nowadays.
Or you AI it, but AI ain't got no taste. Come on.
Yeah, like that's going to be one of the things on tags in the future that people are going to pay attention to. One of the things in the US, if you were purchasing goods and it says made in China, it's like, okay, like, versus having a tag that says made in America,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I want to support that. I don't care if it's a little bit more expensive and the exact same quality, maybe a little bit lesser. Like, I'm going to go for the made in America stuff.
Especially if it's
And,
vehicles.
it's the same type of thing, I think, in the future that we're going to have with tags for certain products and goods. Instead,
Yep.
instead of saying, made by China, made by America, it's going to say made by AI and made by human, right? Like,
Yeah, seriously.
coming up.
Especially when it comes to code and everything on that side of things. Like, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Hey, can we do a quick, just 10-second moment of silence before we do anything further? Just real quick, starting now. We have a Detroit Pistons fan on stage. I mean,
I knew exactly where
I
that
feel
was
his
going
pain
as soon as it started, and I didn't want to interrupt it.
So, Neb, how are you doing?
The game's at 6. I'll pick you up, bro. Let's go. Let's break the streak. Let's watch it end together. I don't know.
Oh, Neb, seriously, break it. Guys, just let me preface this. Before the season started,
Boomer sooner before you get any farther.
What's that?
I said Boomer sooner before you get ahead of yourself.
Hey, bro. I mean, people were sitting out across the board. Like, they dominated that game. Okay, but Neb, here's the deal, man. Before the beginning of the season, we had Neb come up here on stage, and he hyped up why the Pistons are the truth and the way that they have approached the rebuild is basically the roadmap for just about any team to follow. And, Cade Cunningham, you know what? I will give you your flowers on Cade. Cade is legit.
Thank you.
Outside of Cade, you've got maybe Jalen Duren. Props. Like, I think he can be something. Ivy might be something. Maybe, but you start to run down and it thins out pretty quickly. Like, point being, I'm sorry, man. I feel your pain. And I don't feel your pain, but I feel for you.
I appreciate that, brother. So just look, I'm not trying to derail things and be like, all right, let's talk basketball for 40 minutes. I could do that. I have a lot of thoughts about this team, and honestly, like, I kind of agree with you. First of all, like, that is a little bit of a mischaracterization because I think OKC did it correctly. Like, the impetus for this was me saying that the Cavs were frauds. You tweeted me something about like how OKC has the best young core, and then Orlando, which I agree with, and then I still think the Cavs are frauds. But yeah, we're terrible. Cade is him. Cade is still like the guy. I still believe in Cade. Duren also is a monster. He's probably my second favorite player or he's probably my favorite player on the team that's not Cade, I guess. And then Ivy, watching Ivy last year, I feel like there's nothing he can't do because he just kept getting better all season. You know what I mean? So I don't want the Pistons to trade him necessarily because I don't want to see him be that guy on another team. But like, I don't know. Yeah, it's miserable. It's not fun. I'm still watching because it's like a car crash and you can't look away.
Well, Neb, so everybody in the audience right now, you may be wondering to yourself, how does this tie into anything related to the crypto market? How does this tie into anything related to NFTs? How does it tie into anything related to Wonky Stonks? How does it tie into literally, like, is there a connection to this? Is it worth my time here? And here's where it all comes together, folks. Right? You are listening to this right now, and you are listening to a man that, despite the longest active losing streak ever in the history of the NBA for his team, still, like, I hear the passion in his voice. He has hope. He has belief. He thinks they can still turn it around. And it takes that edge of insanity. It takes that conviction to be able to make it in this space, right? Like, there are shitcoiners that they'll be down for, like, bro, imagine being a bonk maxi the past year, right? Like, nobody believed in the bonk maxis. And then all of a sudden, in the matter of like 2 months, boom, right? Like, they're on top of the world. So that's how quickly things can turn around. But it takes having the heart of being a Detroit Pistons fan to be able to make it. It takes being a Neb.
Kaleo is 100% correct. You too can turn $100,000 worth of NFTs into a used Toyota Camry.
God, I felt that. I felt that.
We all felt it. We've all been there. It's only up from here, guys. It's only up from here.
Yeah, I round tripped about 70% of my Solana shitter profit this week. It's been fun.
Well, did you get the car back?
No. Car's
shit.
still gone. Actually, that's a. I might make a meme coin now called "Car Gone" or "Car Still Gone."
Wait, Rooster, are you down a vehicle too?
Yeah, I am.
This was not a loss to Vegas directly, by the way.
No, actually, Keys should have stayed in Vegas, but no, my dumbass actually wanted my keys back. Rookie mistake. You know what they say? What happens in Vegas?
Yo, y'all trying to hear about more misery?
Always.
I got rear-ended at the end of February in my little Japanese sports car, and I bought another one
The
exactly
Toyota
like it.
Camry.
A little bit quicker than a Toyota Camry. It's a Mitsubishi Evo. So I bought another one after I got rear-ended from a guy who blew the motor, and I didn't know it had a bad motor. So I've been waiting on a new motor for this car since April. Yeah. So
That's
it gets
awful.
worse when you're a Pistons fan. Yeah.
You thought you hit rock bottom, and then bam. Oh God. All right. Kaleo, I gotta jump off of here in just a second. If you get a chance, could you DM me your Telegram handle?
Yes, I
You
can.
gotta admire the persistency.
Bro,
Um,
I've never seen anybody more, and I like it's nothing against you, bro. I am just, I am not great when it comes to anything DM.
dude,
So,
that's the thing, though. Seriously, like my DMs are insane, and I just have to imagine, someone of your stature having multiples on the amount of DMs that I get, and I can't even keep up. But yeah, if you get a chance, if not, it's fine. I will find you, in the nicest way possible.
hey, as a 5'6" man, that means a lot.
Oh man! All right, I'm gonna head off. Y'all have a fantastic day. I got beat by a 60-year-old man at racquetball today, so I need to go and I don't know, beat my 4-year-old at soccer or something.
All right, man. Enjoy.
All right, see y'all.
Later.
Dude, that just actually reminded me. I met someone whose life aspiration is to be an Olympic pickleball player.
They don't have pickleball in the Olympics yet.
Exactly. That's
Yet.
my point.
Yes. All right, I'm really leaving now, but that's hilarious because my sister-in-law, a different sister-in-law, actually wanted to do the same thing. She wanted to play for the Olympic pickleball team. I said, there is no pickleball in the Olympics, Brittany. God. Anyway, all right, bye, guys.
Adios, man. Um, so I'll say this: like, I my parents live in a bit of an older community, right? And when we went back for Christmas, they've got all these pickleball courts in their neighborhood, like just fields of pickleball courts. So went there with my siblings, and like none of us are pro pickleball players, but like we can move around, hit a little bit. We're not terrible athletes. Well, there's this old dude, like late 60s guy named Jeff, and Jeff walks up to the court and we asked Jeff, there are only three of us there. Had a couple people that left. We needed a fourth. We asked Jeff if he wanted to play. Bro, Jeff walks in. I don't care that he couldn't move from one side of the court to the other. He had no real mobility. He didn't need it. Jeff was whooping our ass. And that's when I learned why old people love pickleball. Because realistically, you don't have to move if like at a certain point you've got to move just a little bit, because if you are moving you're losing. Like it's that simple. So that's why I learned why it's grown in popularity so much. I finally had my first dose of reality as far as what pickleball is, why it's become so popular, and why it's evolved, right? Like it's because of Jeff, and guys like him. So I don't know, man. Pickleball's fun though. Enjoy it. Like, you know, and again, could see it as something, like we just need to find the pickleball of crypto.
The pickleball of crypto's Wonky Stonks. And speaking of which, you think we're gonna not, directly at Wonky Stonks, but as a NFT marketplace on whole, you think we're gonna see? Last January, we saw about a 2 to 3x in volume from December to January. You think something similar is going to happen this year?
It's definitely going to happen. I don't know if it's necessarily going to happen in January, though. But it's like, as a whole, like we always talk about Wonky Stonks being inevitable, and I believe Wonky Stonks are inevitable. But the NFT marketplace as a whole is inevitable, right? Like we're going to see a rush of volume. Like it's just a matter of when, right? Like we haven't really seen it yet. All of the pumps that have happened are low volume pumps, right? Across the board. So the high volume, high influx of people that are like, it's not there yet. And it will, because, if you look back to the order of operations for how all this happened, do you know how many months slash, year plus, whatever it was, of just basically a meme coin casino that we had before NFTs really took off? Because I look back to it, 2020 during DeFi summer, right? There were a bunch of different meme coins that ended up popping up during that period, like Rope, Cope, etc. Like I can go down the list of different things that ended up being big for a moment that people were speculating on. Then you had the BSC meme coin era, right? Where you had the pancake swap, everybody on there. And like you can go
Still
down the
got a
list.
bag of cummies, dude.
Yeah. Like legit, you can go down the list of the different things that were the narratives for a while before NFTs really became anything of a narrative within the space. And like I think that's kind of where we are right now, right? A few things happening in the background and a little bit of interest, in the greater spectrum of things for the space for NFTs, but just not quite there yet. Versus what we had last year, I almost feel like was a tail end, like I don't want to say dead cat bounce, but it was more of a tail end bounce off the previous bull market than it was like, you know, a pump entering into the next bull market, right? It was more of that last dying flame rather than like a new spark.
Well, if we can cup and handle at this new year, that would be magnificent. Full disclosure, I do think there will probably be um, a pretty decent influx in January, even if it's just because an unlock at Blast, and let's say people rotate 10% of the money they locked in there back into NFTs, because most of that money did come, or a lot of the money came from NFTs initially, anyways. Uh, and I did.
An ETH native. ETH native.
I did fully leverage all my ETH pandas, and then grabbed more pandas on credit just because I feel it in my loins that I feel like there will be an influx next month, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and we'll see if it works out. What could possibly go wrong blending your entire panda portfolio, right?
I would love for next month to be the month. I hope you're right. And I replied to this in a comment recently where somebody said that they expect it to be February or so for XYZ reason. And like, here's my thought process on what's going to happen with the NFT marketplace, right? Like, as a whole, especially with ETH NFTs, you look at it and, first off, it's going to take ETH moving up a little bit, which is kind of counterintuitive because ETH moving up a little bit, you think, oh, higher fees, more congested network. And, people are going to want to exit their ETH NFT bags for ETH, right? Like that is the natural thought train that some people have, but it's not necessarily true, right? I think on the upswing, coming out of a bear market, it is confidence in the network as a whole. And my reference point for that is look back to the summer of 2021. Look to what was happening then. Summer 2021, you had ETH, BTC, everything else down in the gutter. And it started to take an upswing. ETH as a whole, starting in spring, really, ETH as a whole, through the end of the summer, outpaced, just about anything else. Like, obviously, there were a few other things, but it greatly outpaced BTC. And in that whole narrative, there were a lot of people that faded NFTs because, again, why would you be in NFTs if ETH is like, but the ETH NFT ecosystem, that's when I think it saw its first real explosive growth was when ETH was going crazy like that. So I really think it's the same type of thing here where it's just going to take a massive move from ETH to bring more interest back into that ETH NFT ecosystem. Now, at the same time, when that happens, I still think that there's going to be a bit of lag before NFTs really blow up. I think you'll see a bit of a boost where, on some floor prices, maybe just because right now, if you look at the floors of a bunch of different legit projects, they're pretty thin. Doesn't take much ETH to really move them a lot. So you'll see a decent boost. So right now, I think that if you want to like dip your toes into certain things, it's pretty cheap to do it as a whole. But again, to size into it right now, it's difficult to do that without much slippage. So I think before you really see that huge volume influx, it's going to take a couple months of confidence for floors to start to trickle up on a little bit of lower volume across the board as ETH is going up to really get enough attention to drive that huge volume spike. And from there, I mean, that'll be wave one of NFTs taking off. Wave two, I'm telling you, as much as people, you know, we need a new influx of we need that new wave of people, and that doesn't come until BTC makes new all-time highs. So I think wave one, we are going to see a little bit of a wave one maybe coming up here early part of this next year. Maybe it's January that ETH ends up taking off. And then throughout the next couple months, a little bit of interest in the ETH NFT ecosystem. But I really think later on, say summer through a little bit past that, is when you see a real explosion, right? Like, confidence returns a little bit at the beginning of the year. You get a bit of accumulation, bit of consolidation in that area, and then you get the next real explosion sometime in the summer. That's what I'm going to roll with.
Now, what projects do we think? I mean, obviously, like pandas, penguins, stuff that has staying power. That's going to be stuff that people go back into. But how do you think that confidence returning is going to be affected in different areas? I guess I don't know if I phrased that question like a smart person.
I mean, just my opinion. Confidence is going to start by returning to the space as a whole. Obviously, the more solidified and well-run projects are going to outperform pretty much everything else, and you are going to have a ton of new projects, and it's going to be pretty much a repetition of last cycle, just more. In my opinion, you're going to have very few projects that actually have any staying power, and you'll be lucky to get in on those early, right? Your best probably risk return, in my opinion, is getting into the already proven projects. Like some of them, have been building for like 2 years now, right? And any new project, that is a lot of catching up to do. Like, sure, you can still make money trading them. Absolutely. But I feel like your best risk return is going to be pretty much buying into the ones that have already proven themselves. If that makes sense. I think that's where the most confidence in the market will be, is ones that have, either launched in the bull and built through the bear, launched in the bear and built through the entire thing. That's just my personal thoughts.
I agree with you, man, because at a certain point, yeah, you're going to have some new horses that end up running. But for every one that ends up running and doing well, you're going to have 25 others that you just basically see flop and go to zero. Versus if you look for something more established that's been there for a while, like it's obviously the safer pick. There will be a point though, and when things are really heating up, like everything will pump. So a period where you go 25 for 25 on the new ones. And when that's happening, probably a good indication that, hey, maybe we've only got another month of this left or whatever it is. It's coming a little bit closer to that ending point to be able to scale back some.
In my opinion, my crystal ball is telling me that CryptoPunks probably see their blow off top this next coming bull cycle, and remain number
They're
one.
going over a mill.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I'm talking like, remaining number one, like not getting eclipsed at all the entire cycle, and just absolutely having the most massive run like we've seen in NFTs. While at the same time, apes dropping to like third through fifth in market cap and getting eclipsed by 2 to 4 other projects. That's what my crystal ball is telling me. What are those projects going to be? Probably Penguins, one of them. Other than that, it's up in the air.
I mean, everybody here knows that I'm big on the Futureverse, and I think fluffs are also a pretty good high conviction play. But it's good that I'm glad to understand your thinking in that people are going to flock to those already made names when confidence returns. And I think Futureverse stuff, it will pop later.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's part of the fun of being here now is having that advantage and kind of having that window into seeing some of those opportunities if you're really putting the work in. Because again, when you're looking at the way one increase in prices across the board for NFTs, it's low liquidity pump, right? Where it doesn't take much ETH, moves a lot. And from there, you get a higher volume influx with maybe a little bit lesser price movement percentage wise. And it just gives you a lot more of a cushion to be able to take advantage of those moves, take profit at an easier point where some other people that are entering, that waited to enter for attention to come back aren't going to have that same type of opportunity. They're not going to have that same type of cushion. So, there is some advantage of being here now, being patient with it. And, it sounds crazy. It always sounds crazy talking about the future and talking about what will happen in a space that feels dead until it's not. Right? Like it's crazy until it's not. And that's what it is for ETH right now. There are a lot of people that are saying anything on ETH is crazy. Why would you even consider anything on ETH? Why would you consider touching it? And it's crazy. And you almost feel crazy because you're seeing all these other wins across the board. And you're thinking to yourself, man, what the hell am I doing with my money parked there? Right? Like my attention parked there. And usually at the point of greatest frustration is the point of greatest opportunity. Right? Like they
Like the
coincide
Detroit Pistons.
very oddly like that.
Dude, deep down, I'm like, I will always be an ETH maxi at core, and I am not afraid to shame it. I will disguise myself and dress up. Like the past 2 months, I've been dressed up as a soul maxi. But deep down, I love my ETH bags, dude. Like, and that's why I'm not necessarily a maxi as in like all my attention is focused here because it's really not. But ETH is my favorite of all the coins.
Get that tattooed on your back. That would be hilarious.
Dude, I already have Vitalik's face tatted on me.
I've seen it. The weirdest thing is he got it tattooed on his right cheek.
Hey.
I'm not gonna say.
Hey, how's it going?
GM, Lumber the Legend. What's up, man?
GM. Hey, first of all,
GM Lumber.
if you're in the space right now and you don't own a Wonky Stonk, get the fuck out. Okay? That's what I have to say. First of all, you can hear Kaleo talk on his YouTube channel. This is a wonky space. Own a Wonky Stonk. Second of all, I think the ordinals will have the biggest run of all the NFTs. There you go.
Hot take: Ordinals have the worst art in the space.
Hey, that's coming from somebody who owns pandas, bro.
Oh shoot, we're starting to get dissension in the ranks.
I mean, come on. Dude, you're in a Wonky Stonk space and you don't own Wonky Stonks? I mean, give me a break, man. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I own 0 Wonky Stonks.
All right, you know what we need to do, Lumber? We need to bridge some wonkies. We need to bridge them over to ordinals somehow.
Yeah, where's the wonky inscriptions, Lumber?
Hey, if I knew how to
Come
do
on.
that, I would do it, man.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to DM Ben.eth and ask him how he did it for his orange square collection. And we'll get on that. So I'll have the best in the business working on it for us.
I mean, I don't know how you can't think ordinals are just not going to take off when Bitcoin, is going to run the highs.
Oh, bro, no, I'm bullish on ordinals. I think they'll continue to do well. The more hate there is for something usually means there's something that's happening right there.
Yeah, I do not hate ordinals at all. I think they have their place. I just simply do not care, and there's so many other opportunities. I don't need to worry about missing one. I think they will run. Will they run the hardest? Not in my opinion. But teach their own.
We will see. It's going to be a fun next year, man. I'm excited about it. 2024, been talking about it for a while. There's going to be a lot of opportunity, but 2023 overall, lots of ups and downs, but it's been a fun one, man. So appreciate all you guys being here along for the ride. I'm looking forward to all the future spaces, shit posts, etc., that we all go through next year. All the things that we're going to sit back and say, "Damn, I wish I knew that one day on that one space back then. Had I just known that we'd get there." I hope we manifest some of that greatness going into it. I believe we will. So yeah, love you guys.
What are we
man.
doing?
Looking
What are we
forward
doing for episode 100?
We got to think about it. Like that'll be here in how many weeks? I got to do the math.
It's
I'm
3,
just kidding.
Kaleo.
I'm just
Oh,
messing.
shit.
Oh shit! I had 5, dude. I had 5 weeks.
I was gonna go with 6. So I don't know. We'll see. We need to do something big for episode 100.
100 stonk giveaway. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Make
1
sure you...
million stonk giveaway. All right, book it. All right. Love you guys. I got to get going, unfortunately. It's been a fun one. We'll be back here next week for episode 98. And, first episode of 2024 as well. So we will see you guys then. Wonky Stonks are inevitable. And so are the Detroit Pistons losing their next 10 games. See you guys next time.
Cheers, everybody. Happy New Year.